I recently participated in an event for Torchlight Infinite where it was me and 5 other streamers racing to be the first to defeat the TM6 Traveler. And then based on our rank, everybody who supported us by entering the specific streamer code into the redeems section in the game would receive a certain amount of primocrysts. Now, since I've already defeated the Traveler, the code still works until the 19th, which is when the event ends, but you only receive 50 primocrysts instead of the 200. So let me show you how to do that now. You go here, and you go to settings, and then you go to redeem code, and then my code is DSLILY in all caps, no underscore. So here's a clip of me defeating the Traveler, which took me about 9-ish hours. And I will also explain / highlight my journey to getting to this point after this clip is over. Boom. The leveling process in this game is short and sweet. I believe there are 4 acts that you go through. It does not take very long. A couple hours, like max. And then hockey would be nice. You basically just run around and you clear the monsters. And you can also farm the bosses if you want. I did that a few times. I just farmed bosses for XP and loot. So you just run through the zone and find the boss, essentially. And then there's a few other like side quests you can do, where you like release people or quests like that. And then here you can see the new season mechanic, Black Sail. You can see the Void Sea Terminal here. You can choose a buff for it, and then it will spawn monsters, and then you also get a boss once you complete a certain amount of them, and it gives you a really good amount of loot and some XP, and I was having a good time with it, and I would like to interact with more. I defeated the boss a single time, but I haven't done it too much because I was just focusing on blasting to the TM6 Traveler. Another system I like in this game is the talent system. So you get to choose from 6 different gods, and then within each god there's 4 passive trees you could choose from. So I chose the goddess of hunting, and because my build is lightning, so I was just going for lightning damage mainly. So here we can see the trees. It starts off simple with just damage, and then it gets progressively more complicated nodes to take. And at the end it gets the most complicated with something more special, like for each spell skill used recently, 2% crit damage, additional max damage, additional attack speed if you dealt a crit, stuff like that. You can see how it gets more interesting the further you go on the tree. And then at certain breakthrough, or at a certain amount of talent points in each tree, you get access to special abilities here, or special skills. Like I have Paralyzed, -2 targets lightning res for 2 seconds on lightning damage hit, stacks up to 16 times. So these are good to revolve your build around. And it's pretty hard to actually choose them. Like a lot of them are good. So it gives you more decision making than it seems like there would be. So you get a lot of agency over your build, and you can tweak it in real time as you see fit, and you can go over to the target dummy to further really test your thing, and I think it's a fun thing to do. And then you also get hero traits, which you can choose from depending on your character you choose. They'll have different ones, which are basically big bonuses to your character stats, and you can build different builds around them. Here we can see the endgame system of Torchlight Infinite. So there's 5 areas, and then within those areas, you have different zones you can run. You can notice these icons above the zones, and what these are different buffs to the zones. And they're cards, essentially. And you can edit your card deck to be however you want it to be, so what kind of strategy you want to do for farming currency in game or gear or whatever, what have you. You can edit that, and it's completely customizable to your taste, and you can come up with interesting strategies. And I think it's a really interesting and new system that I haven't seen in an ARPG before, and I think it adds a lot of depth to the endgame system. It makes it so you don't even just like want to just sit in one map and run the same one over and over. Since it puts on different zones, I think it's a good addition to the game. So the bossing in the game works by these watchers. You have to do a certain amount of maps. It says 8. It can be shorter than 8 because one of the buffs, like for example this one, will give you more. It'll increase the bar faster, which is an example of like one type of tree you could set up if you want to do like boss rushing. So when you defeat the watcher here, it will count one of these bars towards the Realm Lord, which is like a bigger boss, which is the Traveler. And then you get to fight him for more loot. And that is the gist of the endgame system in a long story short. And then also, you can choose the difficulty you want. Time mark goes 1 through 7. 7 being the highest and the hardest, and then 1 being easiest. There's also like Uber zones you can do at the very end game. You can see here it kind of explains it. Level is increased more, and you get an even harder boss to defeat, and it drops different loot and better loot. So that is ideally what you're aiming to do, and the grind is quite fun in my opinion. From last season, I did it, and I plan to do it again this season. So here's a clip of me getting out of a map, and I'm going to identify my gear. So I look through the gear and see if there's anything good, and if you find a good base, such as this axe that I found, you can craft it pretty much any way you want, and you don't really brick items in this game when crafting. And you can craft it completely the way you want based on these embers, which will add specific mod types that you're looking for, and you can add any one you want based on if it's a prefix or a suffix. And then there's special ones, such as those purple ones that you just saw me click. I haven't had them at this point because I hadn't played for very long. And you can see that I go back to the original gear and I don't like the mod it gives me, so I can't brick it. And then I'd keep doing this until I got the mod I wanted, and then I would finish my axe, and you can craft it, finish it off with like a crafted mod, guaranteed, since it progressively gets more expensive the more you craft. So to wrap things up, I think the new season is quite good, and the future of the game also is quite promising. They continuously have been adding new content, such as skills. There's 5 or 6 skills added this season that are new, and they also added a new character, and they also added a new boss through the season mechanic. They're also improving things such as their QL. You can see it on the screen in the clip once I'm in town. If you look at my life, you can see the mana and life numbers that are there permanently now, as opposed to last season when they weren't there. So they are improving things. The UI is also improving. They acknowledge the things that they need to improve on, and I think the devs show a lot of promise here. They seem to actually care about the state of the game, and there's good community support, and they seem to interact a good amount. In my opinion, it's probably one of the best ARPGs you can play right now, especially if you want complete control over your character / gear. You really have a lot of agency and can make a lot of different decisions about your gear and skill choices. If you're interested in seeing the full journey of how I reached the time mark 6 Traveler, only about 9 hours. You can check my VOD on Twitch from when the season started on January 12th, or I'm also planning on making a video soon giving leveling tips and just general advice on how to reach the endgame faster in Torchlight.